You know that feeling, that nagging sense that the future is already a done deal? Like we're all just reading lines from a script that's already been written, heading towards a conclusion that maybe isn't all that great. It's a kind of modern anxiety, right? A feeling that a lot of us have. Like we've lost our momentum, our zest for whatever is coming next. Well, today we're going to dig into a really powerful idea that pushes back against that feeling hard. You know, this isn't some new feeling. The philosopher Teilhard de Chardin really put his finger on it. He warned that if we start to see the universe as this hermetically closed system, we risk a kind of fundamental discouragement. Basically, we lose the heart to even act. And it's that exact feeling, that deep down fear that our actions don't really matter, that we're going to tackle head-on in this explainer. But here's the big question. What if that feeling of being trapped is just wrong? What if it's based on a total misunderstanding of how reality actually works? What if the future isn't a dead end at all? What if it's wide open? All right, so here's our journey for today. We're going to dive into an alternative vision called process theology. We'll start with this crisis of hope that so many of us feel. Then, we'll look at the idea of an open future. After that, we'll explore how we can move from loneliness to connection. We'll also tackle the big questions about God, evil, and freedom. And finally, we'll see how all of this can lead to finding a kind of ultimate peace. Let's get into it. Okay, so Section 1, the crisis of hope. Let's kick things off with a paradox that I think a lot of us can feel. We're living in what's supposed to be the most connected time in human history, right? And yet, so many of us feel profoundly alone. And this isn't just, a personal problem. It's actually a symptom of a much bigger crisis in how we see our own power to shape what comes next. So, what's the antidote to this feeling of disconnection? Well, this brings us to Section 2 and to a philosopher named Alfred North Whitehead. His work is pretty much the foundation of what we call process theology. He looked around, saw this widespread loss of zest, and he came up with a pretty radical solution. And here it is, the core idea of process theology. It makes this incredibly bold claim: the future is fully and radically open. Think about that. It means the future is not just a replay of the past. Sure, the past sets the stage, it gives us our starting conditions, but it doesn't write the script for the next act. This means genuinely new things can happen. At any moment, new ideas, new possibilities, real, actual progress can burst onto the scene. The future isn't a fixed point. It's a wide open field of creative potential. Now, this idea of an open future, it isn't just some abstract philosophical concept to debate. No, it has huge real-world implications for how we live with each other. In fact, it might just be the key to moving from that feeling of isolation to one of real, genuine connection. And this leads us to another one of those modern paradoxes. We've spent centuries pursuing individual freedom, and that's a good thing. But it came with a hidden cost. You see, we broke away from those old traditional communities, the villages, the super tight-knit families. And in the process of gaining all that freedom, we ended up paying for it with isolation and loneliness. Our relationships started to feel, kind of impersonal, like transactions. So, if the old ways are gone, and this new way of living just leaves us feeling empty, what's left? Is there another way to live together? Is it even possible to be both truly free and deeply connected to others? Well, process theology suggests there absolutely is. It points towards a totally new vision for community. And these aren't the kinds of communities you're just born into. These are communities we consciously choose to build. They're voluntary. And their whole purpose isn't to tie you down or restrict you, but the exact opposite, to liberate you. These are communities founded on fulfillment and love, not just on cold, impersonal contracts. Okay, but this is where it gets really mind-bending. This idea of connection, it doesn't just stop with other people. It expands to include, everything. Whitehead makes this truly startling claim. He says, the actual world is mine. I mean, what on earth could he mean by that? This is a massive shift in how we see ourselves. The idea here is that you're not just some separate little object floating in the universe. Your body isn't just a bag of cells. No, in a very real, tangible sense, your body is the entire universe experiencing reality from your one-of-a-kind perspective. As Teilhard put it, my matter is the totality of the universe possessed by me. You're like a focal point where all of cosmic history comes together, a point where the universe itself wakes up and becomes aware. All right. This is all an incredibly hopeful vision, right? But it smacks right into a huge, unavoidable roadblock. And that's the problem of evil and suffering. I mean, if there's a good God, why is there so much pain in the world? How can we even talk about an open future when we're surrounded by so much destruction? Okay, so a lot of traditional theism, it tends to rely on this idea of God having controlling power. The image of God as a grand puppet master, pulling all the strings, making every single thing happen. But that idea backs you into a really tough corner. Because if God controls everything, then our freedom isn't real, it's an illusion. And that means God is ultimately the one responsible for every single tragedy. But process theology flips the script. It offers a totally different model, persuasive power. So instead of a dictator who acts on the world, God is more like a partner who acts with the world. God doesn't force an outcome. Instead, God constantly offers the best possible path forward, persuading and luring creation towards more beauty, more complexity, more love. And in this picture, our freedom isn't just real, it's absolutely essential to the whole process. And this leads to a really powerful conclusion. Our freedom isn't some problem that God has to deal with. Our freedom is the whole point. The future is genuinely open for us to shape, and it's open precisely because God's power is persuasive. It's a power that respects our freedom. It doesn't just steamroll over it. This makes us, it makes us co-creators in this grand, unfolding story of the universe. Okay, so if we're free co-creators in this wide-open universe, what's the goal? Where is all this heading? Well, it leads us to our final section, and to a completely new way of thinking about something we all want: peace. Now, when process theology talks about peace, it's not talking about the absence of conflict. It's not some static, boring, sleepy state. Not at all. Whitehead called it a dynamic harmony of harmonies. The best way to think about it is like a symphony. You have all these different instruments, each playing its own unique part, but when they play together, they create this incredible, beautiful, cohesive whole. Peace is that feeling of alignment, when what you're doing resonates with the creative pulse of the entire universe. But here's the really important part. This kind of deep peace, it's not something you can just achieve through sheer force of will. You can't just muscle your way into it. It's more like a gift you receive. Whitehead says it's largely beyond the control of purpose. It's a state you discover when you finally let go of that restless ego and just attune yourself to that deeper cosmic rhythm. It's a kind of grace, really, that frees you up to act from a place of genuine love and creativity. So what's the big takeaway here? The main thing to remember is this. The future is not a script to be read, but a story that we are all helping to write. The universe is not some hermetically closed box. And hope? Hope isn't just wishful thinking. It's a totally rational response to the way things really are. The future is wide open, which means that your choices, your creativity, your love, they don't just matter a little bit. They matter on a cosmic scale. Look, this way of saying the world doesn't give us any easy answers, but what it does give us is a profound sense of purpose and, responsibility. It basically hands the pen back to us. So I'll leave you with this question. If the future really is open, and if we are all co-creators, what will you help create?